have announced that their newest EV platform is going to be capable of charging at up to 1 megawatt of power, which is really an unprecedented jump forward for the passenger vehicle market.
The race toward a cleaner future has always seemed locked between electric cars and old combustion engines, but suddenly a stunning twist has caught everyone off guard. BYD's CEO just revealed a brand new engine that he claims will destroy all electric cars. The world is buzzing, and many are eager to understand if this bold move could truly reshape everything we thought we knew.
BYD's exports grew 334% to 242,765 vehicles.
Could one innovation really turn the entire auto industry on its head? Join us as we dive into the shocking announcement and what it could mean for the future of transportation.
BYD has grown into this powerhouse. You look at the monthly rankings, they're always at the top.
Rethinking the future. It all started with a statement that felt like a sudden shock across the automotive world. Wang Chuanfu, the CEO of BYD, stood before a packed audience at a private event in Shenzhen, China. This new engine, he said, pausing for effect, will destroy all electric cars. At first, people thought they had misunderstood him. BYD had built its empire on electric vehicles, pushing China and much of the world toward a battery-powered future. Why would Wang, the man behind the world's biggest EV company, make such a claim? You will want to keep watching because the details will leave you stunned. BYD was developing a revolutionary internal combustion engine, something the world had not seen before. It was not just a tweak to an old idea, it was a brand new design that promised unmatched fuel efficiency, ultra-low emissions, and the ability to run on multiple types of fuel, including green alternatives. This was not about clinging to the past, it was about setting a new standard for the future, one that did not rely solely on batteries and charging stations. The timing of this announcement was no accident. Around the world, the electric car market had started to show cracks. Battery shortages, high costs, and concerns about the environmental impact of mining had started to raise new questions. Obviously, a fully electric future really was not as clean and simple as it had been sold. Wang's words tapped into a growing feeling of doubt. Maybe the industry had moved too quickly or too blindly, and maybe there was another way. As Wang explained, this new engine had been quietly in development for years. BYD's team of engineers had been working in secret, driven by the mission to create a powertrain that could outperform electric cars every important way. They aimed for a fuel economy that could rival or even beat electric efficiency, while keeping emissions so low they would meet even the toughest global regulations. And most importantly, they wanted to bring back the driving experience filled with excitement and passion many drivers felt they had lost in the switch to silent, heavy EVs. Beyond the strategy and the science, this was something that made Wang's announcement so powerful. It touched something emotional, something deep inside every true car lover. For decades, people had fallen in love with the roar of an engine, the vibration under their feet, the feeling of connection between man and machine. Electric cars, for all their advantages, often stripped away those sensations. They were quiet, smooth, and efficient, but they lacked the soul that made driving feel alive. Wang understood that better than most. The new BYD engine was not just about performance and sustainability, it was about bringing back the magic of driving. Every pulse of the piston, every growl from the exhaust, every slight vibration through the steering wheel was part of the experience. It reminded drivers that a car was more than just a tool. It was a partner, a companion, a piece of living art that spoke to the senses. This emotional connection had slowly faded as the world shifted towards silent, heavy electric vehicles. But BYD's new engine promised to bring it back without sacrificing the future. You could still feel the heartbeat of your car. You could still enjoy the thrill of the drive. And you could do it while knowing you were not harming the planet. As Wang spoke about the emotional side of driving, the room grew even more focused. BYD had found a way to merge the past and the future into one machine, something that touched both the mind and the heart. This was about preserving the things people loved. In offering an alternative to an all-electric world, Wang was not rejecting progress. He was showing a way to move forward without losing the soul of driving itself. To make this vision a reality, BYD had pushed the limits of engineering. They introduced technologies that allowed precise control over combustion, reducing waste and boosting power. The engine was designed to adapt on the fly to different types of fuels, from traditional gasoline to biofuels and synthetic blends. This flexibility was not just technical, it was a direct challenge to the idea that batteries were the only answer for a greener future. Wang's bold statement was not just about technology, it was a shot across the bow of an entire industry that had bet everything on one solution. With a slight smile, he reminded everyone that real innovation often comes from questioning the obvious, not following the crowd. His message was simply that the future of cars might not belong to electricity alone. A new era could be starting, and BYD intended to lead it. These were not just a bold claim, they carried a deeper message to the whole industry. In a world racing toward full electrification, he was daring to say what few others would even whisper. Electrification is not the only answer. While electric vehicles had captured the world's attention, Wang believed that putting all hope into a single technology was short-sighted. The future, he suggested, needed to be more open, more flexible, and more practical. Instead of forcing everyone down the same narrow path, BYD's new engine opened the door to a broader, more balanced future. A world where multiple technologies could work side by side. In Wang's view, true sustainability was not about picking a winner, it was about giving the world options that made sense for different people, different places, and different needs. Not every country could build massive charging networks overnight. Not every driver wanted to trade convenience and performance for longer charging times and limited range. Wang's vision painted a very different picture of the future. It was not just electric versus gasoline anymore. It was about smarter engines, cleaner fuels, and electric vehicles all sharing the road. This mixed approach could lead to faster progress in a healthier planet without forcing everyone into the same solution, no matter how inconvenient or expensive it might be. In a way, Wang was challenging the industry to stop thinking in black and white and start thinking in color. As the crowd listened, a different kind of excitement began to build. For years, the push toward electrification had felt almost like a moral obligation. If you loved the planet, you had to drive electric. But now, here was an option that honored the environment without making people feel boxed in. This is about to get a whole lot more interesting. Keep watching. The impact of the announcement. It was easy to see how the all-electric dream had become so dominant. Governments around the world had set ambitious deadlines. Automakers poured billions into battery development. Charging networks spread across cities like spiderwebs. Every ad, every news story, and every public conversation seemed to agree that electric cars were the only way forward. But here was BYD, standing at the center of it all, saying that innovation should never be boxed into a single lane. Wang's call was simple but powerful. But why should the world limit itself to one solution when there were so many possibilities still unexplored? Wang talked about hybrid technologies that could bridge the gap between old and new. He mentioned hydrogen combustion engines, which could burn clean fuel while keeping the mechanical soul of the car alive. He even hinted at new types of internal combustion that could be cleaner, lighter, and smarter than anything seen before. The message was simple. A true revolution does not shut doors, it opens them. In Wang's view, sticking only to electric cars was not real innovation. It was tunnel vision. True progress would come from letting engineers and dreamers test every idea, even the ones that did not fit the current trend. It was about throwing every tool on the table and seeing which ones worked best in different situations. Cities, rural areas, long-distance travel, racing, shipping, personal commuting. All these needs were different, and no single solution could serve them all perfectly. And as this new idea spread through the audience, it was impossible not to wonder what the impact could be. If a giant in the electric world like BYD, which the CNN recently reported to have overtaken Tesla, was willing to rethink the narrative, who else might follow? It was not just a small shift in conversation, it could spark a whole new way of thinking across the industry. Startups who often felt forced to play by the electric rulebook to attract funding might now find the courage to pursue riskier and more creative ideas. Big companies who had already spent heavily on battery plants and EV platforms might start setting aside some of their budgets to explore alternative technologies again. The fear of being left behind in the EV race had frozen many companies into narrow thinking, but BYD's announcement could start to thaw that ice. There was a feeling in the air, almost like the early days of the car industry when inventors tried steam, gasoline, electricity, and even compressed air. Back then, the spirit of experimentation had built the foundation for everything that came after. Wang's message hinted that it might be time to bring that spirit back. This new wave of thinking would not just make cars cleaner, it could also make them more diverse and better suited to the many different lifestyles people live around the world. It could lead to vehicles that were tailored to their environments rather than forcing every driver into the same electric mold. It was about embracing complexity instead of fearing it. As the cameras flashed and the crowd buzzed, you could almost sense the beginning of a quiet rebellion. A new era could be near, one where creativity, not conformity, would shape the future of transportation. BYD had not just launched an engine, it had lit a spark, and nobody knew just how far it might spread. The reaction to this bold announcement was nothing short of electric, sparking debates, discussions, and plenty of questions. The global automotive community was suddenly divided, with some seeing this new engine as a potential breakthrough, while others dismissed it as wishful thinking. For years, electric vehicles, EVs, have dominated headlines, driven by governments' green energy goals and the industry's push for a cleaner future. So when a major player in the EV world like BYD came out with a statement like this, it was bound to create waves. In the days following the announcement, traditional automotive outlets, many of which had already committed to the future of electric vehicles, were initially in doubt. They questioned whether an internal combustion engine, even one as innovative as BYD claimed, could truly stand up to the advancements of battery-powered vehicles. With the world heavily invested in EV technology, it was hard for some to imagine a future where the gasoline engine might make a comeback. But the skepticism didn't stop there. A lot of environmental groups who had been vocal advocates for EVs as a solution to climate change raised concerns. The fear was real. Would a new internal combustion engine contradict everything the world had been working toward in terms of reducing carbon emissions? Many environmentalists worried that this new technology might delay or even derail the push toward cleaner, more sustainable energy. But not everyone was so quick to dismiss the announcement. In the automotive industry, particularly among traditional car manufacturers, Wang's statement sparked curiosity. While they hadn't fully embraced the idea of moving away from electric cars, they knew the industry's rapid shift to EVs had been full of challenges. BYD's announcement seemed to open the door to another potential solution, one that offered the flexibility of multiple fuels while keeping performance and efficiency in mind. This was where things got interesting. Competitors who had already invested heavily in electric vehicles found themselves in a position where they had to reconsider their strategies. Could they afford to keep pouring resources into electric cars when alternative solutions were starting to emerge? Keep watching, there's more. Can BYD's new combustion engine change the game? While the concept of a high-performance internal combustion engine, IC, that could challenge electric vehicles, EVs, seemed promising, translating that vision into a commercially viable product was far from simple. There were several significant technical hurdles that BYD would need to overcome to make this engine a reality on the roads. One of the most pressing challenges was fuel efficiency. In an era where fuel economy is paramount to both cost savings and reducing environmental impact, BYD would need to ensure that their new engine could rival or surpass the efficiency of current EVs. While some of the newer ICE technologies have made impressive strides in fuel economy, electric cars, with their energy-efficient motors and instant torque, have set a high bar. BYD's new engine would need to deliver similar or better performance in terms of energy consumption to be competitive. Then there's the matter of emissions. Over the years, the automotive world has made great strides in reducing the environmental impact of internal combustion engines. Technologies like turbocharging and variable valve timing have helped lower fuel consumption and emissions. However, even with these advancements, the reality is that a traditional combustion engine will never match the zero-emission benefit of an electric motor. For BYD to bring this new engine to market, it would need to meet increasingly stringent environmental standards set by governments worldwide. These standards aren't just limited to emissions. There are also regulations surrounding noise pollution, fuel quality, and even the sustainability of the materials used in the construction of the engine. The real test for this new engine will come when it faces real-world conditions. It's one thing to present an innovative engine design in a controlled environment, but the true measure of success will be how well it performs on the road, day in and day out. The mere idea of a new combustion engine can be met with resistance. While the automotive industry has certainly made strides in making ICEs more eco-friendly, the public perception of combustion engines is still largely tied to pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. With electric vehicles having gained such popularity due to their clean energy appeal, BYD faces the tough task of convincing consumers that this new engine can truly be green and sustainable. The real challenge for BYD, then, isn't just technical, it's about reshaping the public perception of combustion engines in the age of green technology. There's a growing global sentiment that EVs are the future of transportation, and combustion engines, especially those running on fossil fuels, are a thing of the past. So how will BYD convince consumers that a green combustion engine is more than just a marketing gimmick? They'll need to address concerns about emissions head-on and prove that their new engine is a legitimate alternative to electric power, not a step backward. In many ways, BYD's new engine could be seen as a challenge to the current narrative that a cleaner, greener future depends solely on electric vehicles. While there's no doubt that EVs offer undeniable benefits, such as reduced carbon footprints, zero tailpipe emissions, and quieter operation, this new combustion engine could continue to remind us that there may be more than one way to reduce the environmental impact of transportation. Hybrid models, which combine both electric and combustion power, are already popular in markets worldwide, and this new engine could open up a middle ground that appeals to consumers who want more flexibility without completely abandoning traditional car technologies. But will consumers be willing to embrace a green combustion engine? It's a tough question. Many car buyers, especially those who are already invested in the EV movement. On the other hand, there could be a segment of the market that views it as a welcome option and a compromise between the benefits of EVs and the practicality of combustion engines. For BYD, convincing the public that this engine is genuinely green and sustainable will require more than just a flashy marketing campaign. They will need to deliver solid performance, prove fuel efficiency, and meet environmental standards. If they succeed, this new engine could carve out a niche for itself in eco-friendly cars, one that doesn't rely solely on electric motors, but instead offers a balance of both worlds. Right now, BYD is pushing forward behind the scenes to bring it to life, but a clear launch date has not yet been confirmed. Some industry experts believe it could happen sooner than expected because BYD has been quietly developing this technology for years. However, bringing a revolutionary idea from the lab into millions of vehicles is never easy, and it requires careful timing. It is likely that BYD will first introduce the new engine within its existing lineup. They already have strong brands in both electric and hybrid markets, so adding the engine to popular models could be a smart move. On the other hand, given the importance of this breakthrough, BYD might decide to launch an entirely new series of vehicles around it. That approach would allow them to build a fresh image without confusing buyers who already associate BYD with electric cars.
Chinese automaker BYD has opened its first electric vehicle plant.
Right now, both options are still open, and whichever path they choose will have a big impact on how the public receives the new technology. Getting the engine ready for mass production is another huge step. Even though BYD has world-class factories and supply chains, building something this new at scale will involve extra layers of testing, adjustments, and approvals. They will have to ensure the engine meets strict environmental rules in every region they want to sell it. Different countries have different standards, and even small differences could create big headaches if not addressed early. BYD will also need to make sure that real-world performance matches the promises made during the launch, especially when it comes to efficiency and emissions. People will not just take their word for it, they will want proof. As BYD works through these production challenges, it is also looking outward for support. No major innovation happens in isolation anymore. Building partnerships will likely become a big part of BYD's strategy moving forward. Some partnerships may involve suppliers who can help perfect the fuel system or develop new materials to make the engine even lighter and more efficient.
Traditionally focused on internal combustion engines.
Others may involve research institutions who can assist with advanced testing or governments who are eager to support greener technologies. It would not be surprising if BYD signs agreements with countries that have aggressive climate goals but are struggling to make a full transition to electric vehicles. This engine could offer a middle path for them, blending cleaner combustion with existing infrastructure. If governments provide incentives or fast-track regulatory approvals, it could make a huge difference in how quickly BYD can roll out the new models globally. Strategic collaborations could also extend to fuel companies. As the automotive world looks for sustainable fuels like biofuels or synthetic fuels, having a combustion engine that can run efficiently on cleaner alternatives could create new opportunities. BYD might explore partnerships that ensure a reliable supply of next-generation fuels, strengthening the engine's appeal for environmentally conscious consumers. Even beyond suppliers and fuel companies, BYD could seek partnerships with other automakers. Some companies that are struggling to keep up with the electric revolution might see BYD's technology as a second chance. Licensing agreements or joint ventures could allow BYD's engine to reach markets that would otherwise take years to crack alone. Everything depends on execution. The early promises are bold, but now the world will be watching to see how BYD turns those promises into a real-world success story. For BYD, this is not just about launching a new product. It is about shaping the future of mobility at a time when the definition of green transportation is still being written. This is far from over. Keep watching to see how this unfolds. Embracing diversity in transportation solutions. Now with BYD presenting a combustion engine that claims to be greener and more efficient than anything seen before,
BYD on 3rd April 2022 announced stop producing combustion engine vehicles.
that single path forward suddenly looks less certain. If BYD can deliver on its promises, other manufacturers might have no choice but to rethink their heavy reliance on electric vehicle strategies. Many automakers have invested billions into EV production lines, battery factories, and marketing campaigns built around the idea of zero-emission electric driving. Switching gears now would not be easy, but the potential of a high-efficiency, low-emission combustion engine could force them to reconsider their long-term plans. This shift in thinking might not happen overnight. Electric vehicles have strong momentum behind them, especially in regions where regulations are pushing gas-powered cars off the roads. Still, if BYD's engine shows better performance, lower cost, and fewer environmental drawbacks than current EV models, buyers could start asking tough questions. They might wonder why they should deal with limited battery range, expensive repairs, and long charging times if a cleaner combustion alternative is available. The companies that have gone all in on electric vehicles, like Tesla or Rivian, might not feel immediate pressure. Their brands are tightly linked to electric innovation, and they serve a customer base that values full electrification. However, more traditional manufacturers such as Ford, Toyota, and Volkswagen, who are balancing EVs with hybrid and combustion offerings, could face serious strategic choices. If BYD's technology succeeds,
the company announced a new technology claiming it can charge an electric vehicle.
it could open the door for these firms to slow down their electric push and instead invest in advanced combustion or hybrid options that appeal to a broader range of consumers. Beyond individual companies, competition in the entire industry could start to change. Instead of a world where every automaker races toward full electrification, the market could split into two strong camps. One group would focus on perfecting electric vehicles, pushing for better batteries, faster charging, and wider adoption. The other group would refine combustion and hybrid technologies, making them cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient than ever before. This rivalry could actually end up being good for consumers. Competition often drives innovation faster than a single dominant technology ever could. Instead of being locked into one option, car buyers might soon find themselves choosing between highly advanced electric vehicles and equally impressive combustion or hybrid models. Each option would offer different strengths depending on personal needs, location, and lifestyle. Such a competitive environment would also force governments and regulators to rethink their policies. Many current incentives and rules are built around the idea that electric vehicles are the only path to reducing carbon emissions. If BYD's engine lives up to its potential, regulators might have to broaden their definitions of green technology. New categories could emerge for ultra-low-emission combustion vehicles, creating fresh opportunities for innovation and new market standards. Fuel companies, too, would be affected. Instead of facing a slow death at the hands of electrification, they might find renewed purpose by developing cleaner fuels that pair perfectly with these next-generation engines. This could breathe new life into industries that were once thought doomed by the rise of EVs. With BYD's groundbreaking new engine entering the conversation, it is becoming clear that there might be more than one road leading toward a cleaner future. Sustainability does not have to mean electric vehicles alone. True progress could come from embracing multiple solutions that work together, not just relying on a single technology. BYD's new engine challenges the belief that electric cars are the only answer. It offers another path, one where internal combustion technology evolves to become much cleaner, more efficient, and still capable of meeting strict environmental standards. This broader approach to sustainable mobility recognizes that different regions and different people have different needs. In places where electric charging infrastructure is still limited or unreliable, an ultra-efficient, low-emission combustion engine could provide an immediate and practical solution. Instead of waiting years for full electrification to become realistic everywhere, people could start reducing their carbon footprint right now with advanced combustion vehicles. Even in urban areas with strong EV networks, some drivers might prefer the flexibility and affordability that a combustion-based green engine can offer. Not everyone finds it easy to live with the limitations of battery ranges and long charging times. BYD's new engine could give them a sustainable choice without asking them to completely change their habits or lifestyles. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the impact of this new engine could stretch far beyond daily commuters. Transportation is a vast and varied sector. Different vehicles have different jobs, and not all of them are best served by batteries alone. This is where a technology like BYD's could truly shine. For example, long-haul trucking presents one of the toughest challenges for full electrification. Heavy loads and long distances drain batteries quickly, making electric trucks expensive and impractical for many companies. A combustion engine that can deliver high efficiency with low emissions could be a game changer in that field. Truck fleets could cut their carbon emissions sharply without losing the reliability and range they need to stay profitable. The same could apply to sectors like agriculture, construction, and even aviation. In farming and heavy equipment, machines often operate far from electric charging points and need strong, long-lasting power to get the job done. A clean-burning, efficient combustion engine could offer a better fit than heavy electric systems in many of these cases. Aviation is an even bigger frontier. Electric planes are still in their very early stages and face major hurdles like battery weight and energy density. If BYD's technology can be adapted for lightweight, efficient power units, it could help push sustainable aviation forward in ways batteries alone cannot achieve right now. What do you think? Do you believe this new engine could truly change the future of transportation, or will electric vehicles still dominate the road ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.